Although people in opposition to Eisenhower will argue that he instigated a greater fear of communism amongst the American people, in reality he successfully suppressed the fears they were having through economic success, proper military action, and a change in government priorities. The opposition reasoning consists of the following elements. Primarily, they argue that Eisenhower increased fear amongst the American people because he wanted to use this fear to justify military action for economic gain. However, the problem with this was the only communist regime that the United States overthrew that led to economic gain was Guatemala. When the United States overthrew the Congo and Iran, the Belgians and the British were the people who took the spoils. The opposition will also argue that the United States mistook other countries' nationalism for communism. Although that may be true, the Americans still feared these countries for what they believed to be communist regimes. This means that Eisenhower took proper action to calm fears when he organized for the removal of these regimes, because it did not matter if communism was mistaken for nationalism, for it was still a fear with the American people. In Eisenhower's press conference, he summarizes the common fears amongst Americans during this time. Many of these fears are economic, and Eisenhower was able to eliminate these fears of depression by creating the interstate highway system, which led to economic boom because of the creation of jobs and new companies as well as because of suburbanization. Jobs were created as a result of the need for workers to build highways, and many businesses were started as a direct result from suburbanization, which created a larger consumer market. As seen in the speech from Duels, Americans recognized the danger that was present because Guatemala was communist. Eisenhower successfully overthrew the communist regime through secret military action. This destroys the communist presence in the West and prevents the USSR from taking military action. As seen in Eisenhower's letter to the Board of Education, he requests an increase in attention to the country's math and science programs. He does this primarily because the arms race was taking place during this time. The Russians' launch of Sputnik 1 and Sputnik 2 also played a role in increased funding. The people knew that the arms race was taking place, and the increased attention to science programs and math programs gave the people a sense of security, knowing that the United States science and math programs were qualified and not lacking compared to the Soviet Union. In the historical statistics of the United States, it is clear that Eisenhower, who was elected in 1952, increased military spending by nearly 17%. However, over his years as president, such as by 1954, the spending annually decreases, which shows that he was successful in calming the fears of war. The increase in military spending gives the United States people a sense that they are doing what they can to suppress the spread of communism and keep its dominant position in the world. Although the opposition may argue that the United States achieved economic gain by overthrowing Guatemala, one cannot deny the fact that the United States still overthrew Iran and the Congo for the strict purpose of stopping the spread of communism. Also, the United States' priority for Guatemala was getting rid of communism in the Western Hemisphere, not simply just protecting their interests in the United Fruit Company. The historian reading by the author Robert J. McMahon states, and I quote, "Certain that the fall of Vietnam to communism would lead to the loss of all of Southeast Asia, the Eisenhower administration after Geneva firmly committed itself to creating in the southern part of the country a nation that would stand as a bulwark against communist expansion and serve as a proving ground for democracy in Asia." Eisenhower made sure that Southeast Asia was kept free from communist expansion. This acted as a barrier for communist takeover in China and suppressed fear in the United States of a growing global communist force. In conclusion, the opposition will argue that Eisenhower increased the fears of war because he hyped up hysteria in his actions. However, the American people already had such a great fear of war that his actions provided these people with a peace of mind because of a sense of security. This security was provided in increased education, economic success, and government spending on military projects. Also, the videos shown in class involving warnings of atomic bombs made the American people aware that the power we held was incredibly strong and could use such weaponry against the Soviet Union if necessary.